up, dudes? What's up, man? HW here. How you doing? New guitar day for me. Actually, I got it on Thursday, but this is a Monday. But sounds great. I took it on its maiden voyage this weekend, and I absolutely loved it. This guitar is super, super grown on me. It's a Fender Player 2 modified. Got it Thursday, played it this weekend, been playing it a bunch, restrung it, gave the neck a little adjustment, and it just is fabulous. Now, I got to tell you something. I overlook guitars like this a lot, and I'm kind of coming out of my snob era. I've had a bunch of Surs and a bunch of vintage stuff, and I was really into all that stuff for a while. And don't get me wrong, the Surs and, I got some Tokais and Grecos and everything. Those are all great guitars. I'm still going to, buy ones like that. And you've also seen me recently, like maybe about 6 months ago, really start to buy a lot of the low-end Squire stuff because it's just such a good deal. And of course, when you get guitars like that, they need a little bit of work. And I've kind of like just lived on these two sides of the spectrum where I'm like, this is the professional stuff up here. This 2,000 to 3,000 range is really where you get like just top quality. They don't need anything. They're perfect. And I got to tell you, a lot of the guitars that I take out of the house and play, I just grab one or two of those guitars that are $2,500 plus, 2,000 plus, and I just play them and they work great. And then the other ones I might take out just sometimes, and I make some adjustments. And there's a lot of things I don't like about them, or I take it out in a situation where good enough is okay. And it's in the middle of the range that I kind of ignore stuff. In the past, I've really thought like, yeah, Indonesia, Squire, that's where you get like really great bang for your buck. Upper end American and custom shop, that's where you get like the stuff I want to play and I'm into. And then, Fender Japan sometimes have a cool stuff, one off this, one off that, cool stuff. And especially like, rare colors and stuff that's hard to find in the States. And they always have really good quality. And, that's also cool sometimes. And I kind of have overlooked, it's been a lot of years since I really took a hard look at anything coming out of Mexico. Or in this case, they're putting made in Ensenada there. Which is interesting because that got me thinking too, because I started thinking made in Corona, made in Ensenada. Wow, they're actually not very far from each other. I mean, we used to drive down to Ensenada when I was a young lad in California. It's not a far drive from the border. And if you're down there and the line at the border would be filled with like old VW vans and beat up trucks with surfboards inside. It'd be a bunch of Americans going down to the coast, all the way down to Ensenada, a little past Mexico City, to go surf. And so, and we kind of avoid Mexico City on the way in because, it was a little shady. But, you go around Mexico City and you stay on the coast and you just see surfers and, dollar tacos, dollar tacos. What am I saying? 25-cent tacos, I mean, you'd get 5 or 6, sometimes for $1 or $2. They'd tell you $2 if you were, because they knew you were a tourist. But and locals were buying them for $1 or something, 5 tacos for $1. And those were the days. Those were the days. Young HW surfing in Mexico as a young lad. I never really surfed, but I went down for the tacos. You know what I'm saying? It sounds so big and full and like just articulate in this position. Now, shout out to Kevin and Steve at Fender. They gave me this guitar. They invited me down to Fender Nashville, and it was awesome, man. It was awesome. They showed me some cool stuff. Some of it I'll show you in another video. And I took this thing out this weekend. They gave me this guitar, and I was like, oh, that's cool. They were like, here, pick which color you like. And I was like, oh, I like that green color. But I didn't really know much about the model. So thank you for those guys. They totally provided me this guitar for free, and I am super grateful and appreciate that. You know, they totally gave me the guitar. So full disclosure, right? And it's just grown on me. Now, listen, this guitar for me is like preconceived notion territory, right? Like I've been ignoring this. It's really surprised me because, like I said, I've overlooked a lot of guitars in this price range and sort of the stuff coming out of Mexico. And this thing really has me second guessing that, to the point that I'm even looking online and I'm looking at the Player 2 modified with the Floyd Rose, the Strat one, because I'm like, this thing is awesome. We always have preconceived notions, where you're like, I'll give you one. Do you remember the Dare car? Did it ever come to your school? They'd show up with like a Corvette and it said Dare in red letters. And they were like, don't do drugs. Never do drugs. People are going to offer you drugs. They're going to say this. They're going to try and convince you to do drugs, convince you to do alcohol, convince you to like do all this stuff, right? You got to say no. No. Your school is cool. Say no to drugs. Stay in school. Don't do that. Don't do all this, right? And it develops in you this thing. You think people are going to offer you drugs all the time. I thought when I got into the real world, I'd just be stepping over people trying to offer me drugs. And I got to be honest with you, people are offering me like, a seat sometimes. We'd like to sit down. Usually places you pay to be, like a restaurant. People are offering me like coffee. You want some coffee? And sometimes, when your wife, is like, oh, I have this friend and I want our families to meet. And then you meet the other husband and they're usually like, hey, you want to try this IPA? And, but that's about it. That's all I'm really being offered, in this life, Sometimes my wife phrases things like an offer, but it's not. She's like, hey, would you like to take out the trash? Are you asking me? Really? Okay, anyway, so that's all to say. Sometimes you develop this like a preconceived notion, you know what I mean? And I had this preconceived notion that like the stuff I play that I want to play on a stage and stuff is coming out at this $2,000 price point. Sure, there's other stuff that I got good deals on. Sure, there's other guitars. I know people are playing other stuff, but I'm just like, I need this. I like the pickups to be this way. And they gave me this guitar, you guys. And in case you thought that this was like a sponsored video and Fender has approved any of these messages, they definitely would have told me to take that little diatribe about drugs out of this video. So it's not. They gave me the guitar, but I decided to make a video on it because I was really impressed with it this weekend. And so I took it out and I got first of all, I got this thing home and I had to adjust the neck a bit. The action was like way higher than I wanted it to be. And I watched them open the box. Like they opened 3 guitars out of the box and was like, hey, pick which color you like. And they were all like similar model. One of them was like, had like a humbucker in it, but they were all modified, Player 2 modifieds, right? And I was like, okay, cool. Like I'll play this in a video or something, And then but I was like, I think the green looks cool, kind of matches the Kemper thing, I'm into the Kemper a lot, you guys know that. And I got this thing home and I was like, okay, this will be cool. I adjusted the neck a little bit, just gave us a little turn. So it came right out of the box. So like it probably was just shipped here. They hadn't opened it, which means it probably had not acclimated to the temperature or whatever. It's been humid. It's been raining in Nashville. If this thing was outside for any amount of time, it was in a gig bag. So it's a little bit exposed if it was outside. But anyway, I got this thing. And at first I was like, this is a fine neck, but now it's really grown on me. I actually really like it. It's a 9.5 radius, which is typical. I have other Fenders like that, and I like that. Actually, I kind of prefer the 9.5 over the 7.25. I have another one that I played this weekend. I had this one in standard tuning, and we had a song in E flat, and I'm lazy, so I played the other one in E flat, and that's a Tele S guitar. It's really a Strat with a Tele pickup, but and it's got 7.25 on the radius here. And I noticed as soon as I picked the other one up how much more I kind of like the 9.5. That's just me. I tend to like the flatter radiuses. What's really impressed me about this guitar is a couple things. 1, rolled edges. 2, absolutely no sharpness in these frets. The fretwork is really good as any of the American guitars I've gotten. Here's where I feel like they're stepping up the game. Locking tuners. I just For some reason, when I look down and I see locking tuners, I equate it with Sir, with American Deluxe, with American Ultra, whatever comes with locking tuners. I don't even know, but I'm just saying. I don't know if those models actually do, or if they're still around right now. Is there a Deluxe and Ultra in production? No idea. But my point is, when I look down, I know I'm playing like an instrument that's made to be played like on a stage with professionals and stuff. And it's not like it's made to hold tune for like 5, 6, 7, 8 songs. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I want my guitars to do. I'm not, especially on a Tele like this, I'm not, there's no wiggle stick. And at first I missed that, but you know what? I've really enjoyed these pickups. Let me show you the pickups. Here's on the neck. This is an unreleased Tone Juggy profile. It's going to come out in a little bit. It's a Jimi Hendrix 100 PRS type of amp, And here's the neck. Nice and juicy. It's not a Strat. But that is a good Fendery neck tone. This middle position to me is so like clean and clear. I was able to use like kind of dirty sounds this weekend and really get nice clarity. Like. Even with a little tube screamer, you can clean it up nicely. Like here's if I really like dig in, But I can still leave it clean because the pickups together, that Tele position and the wide position, these ones, both of them on together, just make it. That's with the tube screamer. Listen. That's really impressive. On the bridge, it's just like pretend you want to rock, Sounds like a Tele, you know what I'm saying? And that was, of course, with the tube screamer, clean, it's more like. Beautiful, even clean there, but back to the middle. That's kind of what impressed me most about this guitar, these pickups. And this position right here. No matter what position you're in, if you pull this up, it puts the whole thing in series. So these two pickups become something like a big humbucker. And then on top of that, when you throw the tube screamer on there, It just has a big sound, man. And I didn't need to change. Like, honestly, I dial all this stuff in like for um I got a couple Sir guitars. I got like that custom shop Strat and everything. I really want all my stuff to always work with my dialed in sounds and just be able to switch guitars and enjoy the difference sonically. And you guys, these noiseless, I guess these are, I tried to look, are these the regular noiseless pickups that come in like the American stuff? But it says new Player 2 noiseless Tele pickups. So I was kind of like, this is awesome. You know what I mean? Like these pickups hold up, up to, pickups that cost way more and guitars that cost, 2 and 3 times as much. So that's kind of where we are. I look at this thing and I go, look, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. Prices are going up, guitars are getting expensive. We're at the point where I remember made in Mexico guitars were $350. They're now $1,000, okay? And that's maybe one of the reasons I haven't been looking at them. But this thing has really grown on me, and I kind of am looking at it, and I'm like, gosh, if I close my eyes, there's no way I would bet this comes from this. You couldn't, if I close my eyes and you tell me this is an American guitar, I go, yeah, sure. I believe it. The Tusk nut on here, I have no complaints. It hasn't been binding. The thing stays in tune. I'm usually not the most like modern guy. I don't go for a real modern look, but that's kind of why I chose this, because I was like, you know what? I don't have anything in this color. I've got other vintagey looking stuff. And this is really cool. This was so useful this weekend, by the way. This extra position, it kind of makes it enough of a modern Tele that I don't just feel like I'm playing, like I just have 3 choices. I had to ask myself at times, did I want this more clear sound? Or did I want to punch it up? And if you're doing this stuff, it was cool to have a thicker thing, It was just awesome. It was such great tone, and we just had this. I mean, it's just like. It just made it, man. It just totally made it. So, like I said, I'm a little bit like, whoa, wait a minute. Fender's over here like pumping stuff out of Mexico that I'm like, I've been overlooking this stuff. And man, I didn't have any problems with tuning. I had a little drift on like, the G or the B, you know what I mean? But it was new strings. I had a couple songs where I was doing like unison bends a lot. So, I would tune anyway a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, but it was nothing egregious. I never was like out of tune. I just, when I was retuning in the middle of the set, I could see that, we were 4 cents, 5 cents flat on stuff. And I tuned the guitar to be like, 1 or 2 cents, on. And so, yeah, I mean, I know that the thing is to like complain about everything, but I guess I'm just gonna say for a minute, maybe not. I don't know about the lower level, that new Fender Indonesian thing that they made, the standard or whatever. But I know that these Player 2 modifieds are legit. The pickups are legit. The tuners are legit. The bridge and the tuning has been legit. These pickups, this switching, legit. This tusk nut, legit. The feel, legit. Fretwork, legit. You know, is legit a French word? It sounds that way. Legit. Anyway, um, I guess what's different to me about this is I just go, this is like a very straightforward, modern Tele with it feels like professional appointments, the rolled edges, the everything. And it really did, as a player, just as a player, it hung with guitars. It is hanging in this collection. I don't mean literally hanging. I mean it hangs with it can hang with guitars that are double its price. And I think, I just have the Tele. I think Teles are always going to be a little more bang for the buck because everything is bolted down. So you don't have all, maybe if you go cheaper guitars, I always say go with a Tele because you don't have all the movement and stuff that can go wrong. It's a little more of a simple design. I wouldn't call $1,000 a cheap guitar by any means. But maybe there is some benefit here, there, the tuning solid and everything. But I can't find any bit of this guitar that needs an upgrade or that I want to upgrade. And so now it's just in the arsenal as the Tele. And I honestly, for what I do, I like these pickups more than my Big Tex Tele, which is much more vintagey and low output. It doesn't sit super well with the rest of my guitars in terms of my sounds that I dial in on one guitar don't work as well on that guitar. They instantly worked on this guitar. And I think that's just, as a player, that's super awesome because that is a lot of times what I'm looking for. I want to be able to switch the sound by picking up a different instrument. And that's what I feel like I can do here. I'm an HW. I'll quit talking your ear off. Go check these out. Go to a Guitar Center or somewhere and check these out. Thank you so much, Fender, for sending me this. People sometimes give me free guitars and they're really cool. This one, you guys give me a free guitar and it very much is like, I feel like I have a new tool in the arsenal. And I brought it to try it out this weekend, and now I'm like, this guitar is going to be in the rotation of guitars all the time. Like, this guitar may go into E flat for one or two songs on E flat. It may be the main guitar and another guitar does that. It may be the backup guitar. It may be the main guitar for this week. And you know what I mean? Like, this thing's going to probably leave the house with me once a month. It's now in the rotation with like 4 other guitars of like that I would play out. You know what I mean? And especially when playing with other people. Okay, I'll shut up now. HW.